Hello, friends. Welcome to the first episode of the Paranormiez podcast. My name is Lunar.
My name is Adri.
And today we'll talk about a few local urban legends to get ourselves started. You can always email in your own creepy stories to paranormiez@gmail.com, and we will thumb through those and feature some on the air. To get things started, Audrey is going to take us off with some spooky stories regarding the Ohio River.
So I was doing my research for tonight. I happened across the tomb of Captain Frank. It's somewhere near Bridgeport, Indiana, but it's along the Ohio River. Many people have seen like a ghost light or mist that settles over the tomb whenever they're crossing by. Captain McFerry himself was a steamboat captain on the Ohio River in the mid-1800s. He was really wealthy and rich because his business was like really booming at the time. And he was a very great competitor of his trade back in his day. He was known for his unstable relationship with other captains in the area. And according to legend, McFerry built the vault overlooking the Ohio River so he could keep a watch over it even after death. So essentially it's said that he requested to be entombed standing up so he could look out of the portal in the vault and curse all the passing boats. And after the captain's death, the other captains who passed his vault would blow their horns to ward off his curse. Today, that tradition still continues. So essentially, if you're ever driving down the Ohio River and hear a horn going off, it might just be someone trying to ward off Captain Frank's curse.
So, with that, we'll go into my story about the Pope-like monster, otherwise known as the Goat Man. So, there are a few different origin stories for the Pope-like monster, one of which being that it was a product of a human-goat union. Some others like to say that he was a freak from a freak show. With that origin story, it is said that he was abandoned as a baby in front of one of the freak's tents, and she had found him and noticed that he had protruding bumps coming off of his head, and that instead of feet, he had what looked to be cloven hooves. The ringmaster of the freak show had seen that and was like, man, this is going to be our class A freak. He's going to make us a lot of money. But as things are typically go with these types of situations, freak shows, their freaks aren't really treated with the most respect in that. The Goat Man was then caged and he was tortured, and this wasn't really housed humanely. Legend has it that once he got older, the freak show was headed to another town on a train that was going across the Pope-like trestle. Lightning had struck the train, causing it to crash. And with that, the only known survivor was the Goat Man that flew out of the train when it had crashed. It said that due to the way that he was inhumanely treated, he vowed to enact revenge upon anyone that he had come into contact with. Another one of the origin stories is that a local farmer wanted his farm to be prosperous. He wanted it to be better than all of the other farms. He wanted to have a successful harvest. All those very nice things for him and his family. With that, the farmer had decided to make a not so wise decision and make a deal with the devil, of course.
Well, you don't have to be lonely with SatanOnly.com, he said.
True. So with that, the farmer and his deal with the devil was that he was going to take a bunch of his goats and he was going to go down by the trestle and he was going to torture them and sacrifice them to Lord Satan himself.
Oh, that's nice.
The farmer does, I know. The farmer does this. He has his sacrifice. He gives it to Satan. But as we all know, the devil doesn't always play fair. And somehow, in the midst of all this, Farmer was turned into the Goat Man one night. With that, he was so angry that he didn't really get out of this situation what he had intended to have. He was tricked and things. So that's kind of the story on the Farmer. He's so upset he can't necessarily go to the markets and get things that he needs. So he would inevitably this hide out at the trestle and enact revenge upon those that he sees. Those are the origin stories that we have for the Goat Man. Now into kind of the urban legend behind the Poplick monster and the activities that goes on at the trestle. Some believe that the Poplick monster, otherwise known as the Goat Man, has hypnotic, almost vampire-like abilities to where he will kind of cry like a small child from the trestle and hypnotize people to make their way up there to save the child. Others say that he would jump from atop the trestle into the tops of the cars wielding a bloody axe.
Okay,
Enact his
Jason.
revenge.
Okay, Jason.
No.
Okay, Jason.
Some other things that happen is that legend has it that if you are brave enough, which I highly suggest you don't do this.
Yeah, don't be brave, kids. Just don't.
Yes, don't be brave. And I also want to emphasize the danger in climbing the trestle and investigating and going to find the Goat Man. This railroad is still in use. The Norfolk Southern Railway urges that you stay off of the trestle. It's private property and it is illegal to access the trestle, and those caught will be arrested and prosecuted. So don't do it. For your safety, no one wants to get arrested. Just don't do it. However, legend has it that if you were to, which you shouldn't, go upon the trestle and run across and things that the Goat Man is there waiting to grab you by the legs and hold you down until the train comes. There has been multiple deaths at the Poplick Trestle, none of which have been directly connected to the Goat Man. One of the articles that you can find regarding this was there was a couple that were wanting to go and have a midnight tour at Waverly. Beforehand, they decided that they were going to go kind of check for things at the Goat Man.
Wait.
They were up. They just.
So you're telling me that Waverly Place wasn't enough for these people, so they were like, let's go check out the Goat Man Bridge before that?
Yes, Waverly Sanatorium, not Waverly Place. We're not Disney Channel.
Okay. Waverly Sanatorium or whatever.
But yeah, they had booked a tour at Waverly Sanatorium for like 10 p.m. Decided that while they were waiting for their tour to start, that they'll go check out the Poplick Trestle. The girlfriend of which was a big thrill seeker, and she just kind of wanted to check it out. So they ignored the no trespassing signs and all of that. They decided to climb up the trestle.
Were they white?
They got to the top.
Were they? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
We know it's white people that do these. But they climb the trestle, and of course they hear the train coming. The boyfriend in the scenario, he was very athletic. I'm not going to share the names just for respect for them and their families. The man was very fit. He had kind of dangled from the side of the trestle, holding it with both hands and like one of his legs. And while he was there dangling, and the train's like swooshing by, like going very fast and things, and the noises that trains make and all of that, he had seen that his girlfriend fell 80 feet from the trestle. And of course she had died.
Of course. Like, no human would be able to survive that kind of fall.
Yeah. 80 feet. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
But she did. She died in that scenario. And that wasn't anything directly associated with the Goat Man, but it's still something that happened on the trestle. There's also a film that was like a 16-minute short film that was made, kind of going over the story about the Goat Man and all that you can find. I believe right now it's streaming on Amazon.
No plug.
No plug. It is there. I was going to check it out before. I just did not have time. But yeah, that's kind of like a little bit about the Goat Man and Pope Lick Trestle in Kentucky. Best to like cover all bases. Please don't go climb on the trestle. It's not safe. There's a train. You're gonna get hit. It's no bueno. Don't do it.
No, but no. Yeah, just don't do it. Don't the story I was researching about the Devil's Mountain Cult, they basically have a disclaimer like that. Granted, it's like the Goat Man is a story, but this one, guys, let me tell you, I had issues actually remembering like the website for it. So literally, all I had to do for the Google search engine, I had to put in Double Road, Indiana. Don't go into creepy cave. And literally, when I typed that in, it actually pulled up the website for it, just to give you an idea of what we're about to get into with the Devil's Mountain Cult. This is actually located. It's in Milltown, Indiana, which is 7 minutes away from where the Marengo Cave is, which is a national landmark. While the Devil's Mountain Cult is not recommended to go to because it's essentially on private property and by the law, and it's a site that will remain under criminal trespassing law jurisdiction of Indiana, which you will at least get ticketed if you are caught there. So just don't go there because it's the cave quarry system themselves. So while you can't go to Devil's Mountain, you can at least go to the Marengo Caves, which is like 7 minutes away, and you can at least get a little bit close there. But I'm assuming this is told from the perspective of an outsider, someone that wasn't familiar with the area, because again, it states that it's between that intersection, which is 7 minutes away from Marengo. So it could very well be that Marengo is part of this or isn't. But according to the website, there was a lot of like ritualistic killings that happened there back in the day, up to 9 to be exact. And there was a whole like media blackout on it. It's very hard to find information about it due to this, but also a lot of the names were left out because the family still lives there. Like the families of the victims still live there, and that's just to protect the families. The media blackout that occurred with these killings was very unprecedented, which is believed to have drastically affected the tourism to the local Blue River canoe rental, which, I mean, I've never been personally, but I've never heard of them, so I'm assuming that much is true if I haven't heard of them living here for so long. So essentially, the first killings happened at the Devil's Mountain on Halloween night, 1969. They were some of the most gruesome in the area that the locals have ever seen. So they couldn't publish the names again to protect the safety of those involved. The Devil's Mountain cult was believed at the time to be an offshoot of like satanic ritual sacrifices that were done. But again, another disclaimer, we're not here to slander the satanic community or any Satanist of the area because most of them don't even believe in doing things like this. So this was way back in 1968. It was a different time. Believe that after the release of the movie Rosemary's Baby spiked people's interest in all things satanic in the occult worldwide. So it was sometime after that these killings really started to spike up around that area. And the sites inside the Devil's Mountain Quarry cave system are numerous, and the place is known to be haunted since around the time of the first killings. People have said they felt the presence of something extremely evil. People have seen demonic apparitions appear in the mist and fog that sometimes sits in the mouths of the cave quarry openings. In the killings room, in some of the rooms deep in the system cave, it's said to have said that demonic spirits have been reported and have been seen as well as felt in terms of a demonic presence. So basically, this place, if you go, not only are you going to get a ticket fine, but you might as well be asking to get possessed by like a demon in a sense, because it's like a very place of like very bad juju, very bad evil because of all the killings that have happened here.
I think in any circumstances where there is severe trauma or deaths that occurred in that way, there's always going to be some type of negative energy surrounded by that. So
Right.
those are things that's this blatantly this best not to with.
Right, all right. I mean, this is something I found out like when I was in high school. Like it was going around our Facebook, and like I would see like the kids commenting, "Let's go there. Let's have a fun night." It's like, oh no, no. Like unless you want to get possessed and stuff, then yeah, have at it. But just no.
Between that and like dumb kids from our high school Ouija boards, like
Exactly.
they're asking for some bad shit.
Exactly. And if like like this is take it as what you will, but whenever someone tells me there's evil, many deaths occurred here, of course I'm not gonna like go there asking for it. But like this also, it's apparently the site had been condemned ever since the first killings. So there's literally no trespassing sign posted on various locations. So according to the witness report from this website at devilsmountaincold.com. The only time this person went was with a team of ghost hunters, and they were forced to leave when they experienced multiple equipment malfunctions in a general sense of just flat out eeriness and a pending doom that no one on their team could explain. So essentially these like ghost hunters, they went there to investigate on their own. No one was telling them to do it, but they were just going out of their curiosity. And right, as immediately as they got there, their equipment started to freak out, which I mean, rightfully so, considering the amount of death and suffering. They had traveled all the way from upstate New York just to make a documentary about it, but then they were forced to leave after all those series of setbacks, which Eyewitness, they said that they couldn't write about on the website because so many of them happened at once that it was to like the point that kind of blocked it out of their minds. With that, the second and third killings that happened inside the Quarry Cave system are now under total media blackout. What we do know about the second incident, which happened on October 23rd, 1979, almost 10 years to the day after the first killings, is that 3 children and 2 adults believed to have been a young married couple with their kids had run out of gas on Route 64 near the Devil's Mountain, and the killings involved complete dismemberment of bodies and over 1,378 stab wounds to the head, neck, and torso areas of all the victims. So yeah, it was a pretty gruesome.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like
That's a lot.
Yeah, like that's pretty gruesome when you think about it. Imagine like that for like
that's gotta take a lot of effort too. Like,
yeah,
be a very angry person, and there was either like multiple people or there. I mean, there had to have been.
there had to have been. Yeah,
that's a lot of stab wounds.
That is. Yeah. So it was just like essentially what I think happened was a lot of people at the time, like the website says, had grown interest in the satanic occult. So I feel like it might have just been a bunch of teenagers thinking they were badass and edgy. Hopefully it wasn't teenagers. Maybe it was just like people that were just like, they just wanted an excuse to kill, which is never a good thing. But in addition to human killings, local police have dragged the remains of over 26 goats and numerous cats and dogs outside of the Devil Mountains Cave quarry system that are believed to have involved. I know it's always goats. Like, why?
Always goats.
What have goats done?
Poor goats. Goat lives matter.
Exactly. Even the cats, like cats and dogs do nothing to humans, and then there's humans who come up and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice this to Satan. But yeah, essentially I would assume to this day the police are still finding like these remains of animals that were involved in satanic rituals. And the information was discovered at a great risk, according to the website. So whoever posted this information, they went through a lot. The site inside the Devil's Mountain cave system, where most of the animal killings took place and all the human sacrifices occurred, is what some become known as the half-door slaughterhouse, room 666. It's located deep inside of the cave quarry system, which again, not recommended to go. You'll get fined, you'll get ticketed, and on top of that, you'll probably get possessed. So like you have all these things stacking up against you, so it's not recommended to go.
And don't go.
Don't do it, because on top of that, you have it has to be climbed into as a partial concrete block of walls that you have to like figure out how you're gonna crawl in there. So you don't want to end up like that one guy who like went into the caves and ended up like dead upside down because he couldn't get back out. Like, you don't want to end up like that guy, so just don't go. But they said as they were trying to like locate this exact room, that's exactly where the equipment started to fail as they were trying to get like into that part of the cave. And then finally, the last incident occurred on October 27th, 1989, again 10 years after the previous killing. So it's essentially a pattern, like every 10 years. The only person killed was one lone woman, believed to have been a drifter or possibly a hitchhiker. Again, to anyone listening, don't hitchhike alone, please. If you take anything away from this, don't hitchhike alone. Don't go into places that you shouldn't. And they can't talk about the matter of which was used to kill this victim because they were only able to discover information from a telephone interview with a surviving family member. And that only had a limited amount of like information about her death. So it doesn't really, like, of course the family member isn't going to want to discuss how this person died. So essentially it sums up that they will never return to Devil's Mountain because they just wish to forget what they saw and experience. And out of all the places they had visited, this is one that they never want to go back into.
Which is greatly understandable.
Yeah, especially with like the amount of death and that's going on. It says the current status of the Devil's Mountain cult is completely unknown. So like they don't really know if this still goes on to this day, but obviously if in fact that all of this is like, based in concrete truth, I still wouldn't go there because of the fact that it's against the law and you'll get ticketed right away as soon as you step foot anyway. So
true. Well, thank you for that wonderful story. Thank you for everyone that listened through our first episode of our paranormal conspiracy mystery theory podcast. I know it could have been quite cringy, but I promise you guys that we'll get better over time. If you want to follow us, we have multiple social media pages. You can follow us on Twitter at the Paranormiez. We have a Facebook page, Paranormiez, and we also have our Instagram, which is at Paranormiez. We'll include links to those pages below. If you guys have any stories or submissions that you would like us to talk about in the future episodes, feel free to send them our way at paranormiez@gmail.com, and we will be sure to read over each submission and line them up to be sponsored on our podcast.
Yeah, guys, thank you for listening. Like Lunar said, we'll probably get better at this the more we go on. This is our first episode, so it's probably going to be like very rough, probably going to be all over the place, hopefully. The more we do this, the more concise and articulate we'll get. I'm trying to learn big words to use during this podcast. I hope you guys just learn big words too, to enrich your like daily lives, not just with spooks, but knowledge.
Get us a Taurus.
Exactly. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening and stay spooky.